who wants to live forever. And it's talk about 10 longevity choices that you can make today.
Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of the Thrive State podcast. It's your host, Dr. V. I am super excited that you guys are here today. It was a great conversation I had with somebody who is probably one of the preeminent figures in the longevity space. I come, with awesome guests all the time, but this is a guy who is investing in businesses that will make us live longer. He's a guy that's invested in bringing the average person to 150, 200 years, and you're not going to want to miss this episode. But once again, if you've gotten some value from this podcast, if you have been learning a lot, please support it by subscribing to the podcast, commenting and liking the podcast, and doing us a favor by rating this podcast at ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. Now, I'm super excited about this guest because he's really on the brink of all the technologies that we know that will extend lifespan. And this isn't just means we live longer, but it means that we live better. We live more fully for a much longer period of time. On today's episode, we share all the exciting technologies of why we are currently on a longevity revolution. And we also share 5 things that you can do right now to actually shift the way you feel and put you in a path and trajectory to 120, 150, 200 years. So I'm super excited to introduce you to my guest, Sergey Young. He is actually the founder of the Longevity Vision Fund. He is a longevity investor and visionary with a mission to extend the healthy lifespans of over 1 billion people. To do that, Sergey founded the Longevity Vision Fund to accelerate life extension, technological breakthroughs, and to make longevity affordable and accessible to the world. Sergey is actually on the board of directors of the American Federation of Aging Research and the development sponsor of the Age Reversal X Prize, the global competition designed to cure aging. Sergey is also a top 100 longevity leader who is transforming the world one workplace at a time with Longevity at Work, the first nonprofit corporate longevity program of its kind. He has been featured as a top longevity expert and a contributor on CNN, Fox News, and Forbes. He is author of the book, The Science and Technology of Growing Young, and the mastermind behind the online life extension platform, SergeyYoung.com. Sergey Young is a super passionate guy. He loves to share his wisdom on longevity, just like me. I feel like we are kindred spirits, and I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this is Sergey Young. Sergey Young, welcome to the Thrive State podcast. How are you, brother?
Very good. Hi, Kien. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here with you. I'm actually calling from Italy, from Tuscany.
This is a really super awesome treat. I got an advanced copy of this beautiful book, The Science and Technology of Growing Young by Sergey Young, which makes me question, Sergey, did you change your last name because you were going into longevity, or has your last name been your destiny your entire life?
Yeah, so I've created this Sergey Young guy. It's been one of the best psychological experiments in my life.
Oh, beautiful.
I have a lot of boring stuff to do, like managing huge private equity investments. And I thought I need to create like my real me, the one who cares about the world, the one who wants to invest in longevity technologies, the one who wants to change at least 1 billion lives by bringing affordable, accessible version of healthcare. So that's me, Sergey Young.
There we go. And the last name says it all. And I want to dive in deeper as to everything that you just stated. But before we do, there's something we start off, every show with. It's called the 5 to Thrive. Remember, these are 5 questions, each worth 1,000 points, but don't worry, the points don't really mean anything. And 5 questions, less than 1 minute answers for each question, starting with question number 1. Sergey,
Okay, I'm ready.
what brings you the most joy?
Oof, I think what I've discovered in the last 7 years, helping others,
Yeah.
was like the best moments in my life. This is not money, not food, not alcohol, anything else. It's just helping others, sharing the best of me with the world.
Oh, beautiful service. Number two, that was 1,000 points, by the way. Number two, the biggest thing in life you had to overcome.
Fear.
Oh, fear of what?
We all, yeah, we all full of fears, and I'm insecure overachiever. So I'm always, I always had, and I'm still having this fear of failure. So just accepting that, looking at this like a positive thing, the thing that I can learn from, was my kind of biggest obstacles, and it still is. I'm overcoming this every day.
Oh, beautiful. Number three, and that was 1,005 points there. That was really good. Number three, your favorite childhood memory.
Yeah, like eating chocolate.
All right, eating chocolate. Very good.
Yeah, look,
995
another
points for
10
eating
seconds.
chocolate.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was born in USSR, not in the middle of nowhere, like in the end of nowhere. Like it was really distant, small town. So like getting chocolate every quarter, that was my only opportunity to eat chocolate, was like a big deal for me.
Oh, beautiful. And I want to dive into that childhood story later on. Number four, what are you most proud of?
Of my kids. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
4 kids. I call them diversified portfolio of 4 kids. I'm investor, so I'm proud of them. I want more.
4 kids, Nikita, Timothy, Polina, and Maxim.
Yeah,
Very
exactly.
good there. And lastly, how would you like to be remembered?
The man who brought longevity technology and digital healthcare to everyone on earth at like super affordable, accessible way.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I love that mission. Now, you know, anybody with that has such a big life mission like that certainly has gone through a lot, you know, in their own life. So I'd like to tap into that hero's journey, or your hero's journey, by finding a little bit about how you became a longevity investor. Because what you have just told me was you lived in the outskirts of the USSR.
Yeah.
How did that kid become who you are today?
Well, I told you that it was end of nowhere, and like for 17 years, I was part of USSR, and every evening I would just look at the map of the world at my room, which I shared with my younger brother, and I was just dreaming about all these places. So at this time, like going to Poland with followed by KGB agent would be like the best that you can do in life. But then perestroika came, and for some people, like becoming an adult was like a process. For me, it was just one phone call from my mother. She called me up and said, Sergey, both me and father, we lost our jobs. You need to work and help us to survive. And so I studied and I worked at the same time in parallel, and both were full time. There's this whole thing started. And then, you know, obviously that's how I became an investor. I was just working a lot, and obviously, well, you know, complete workaholic, just from the need to survive and help my parents and my brother. But not like there's a different story where my interest to health and longevity came from.
Yeah. Before we get into that, though, so when you first started, what were you studying, and what type of odd jobs were you doing at that time?
Yeah, so it was chemical engineering at this time, because my both parents worked on the chemical factory, which was closed down during perestroika. And so my first job was I was cleaning the windows of the skyscrapers.
Oh, wow.
And I was just really full of fear, right? I mean, I'm scared by that, but well, it needs, fear of starvation and need to take care of my family was bigger than that. So this is where I started. I've done a lot of so-called students job, and then it's slowly I started to develop my career in investments.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let's tap into how you got into investing, and then your particular interest now, which is longevity.
So investing, like started of the investment career was, exciting. Like I was just joined the investment firm and, started very early, and I'm a partner now, owning few asset management companies. But where my interest in health and longevity started was from wake-up calls. And well, let's say unfortunate reality for so many of us, like we need a wake-up call. We need like external shock for us to happen. And usually it's either like it's a significant deterioration of our own health or the health of the people that we love. And for me, it was two wake-up calls. One was the lung cancer case for my father back in 2005. He survived, but the quality of his life has never recovered. The man literally shrunk by 1/3. So, and then my story, my personal story, started back in 2014 when I did a blood test, and they found out I have particularly high cholesterol level. And this is not a drama. Like 40% of people all around the world, at least in developed countries, suffer from that. So I had an offer, recommendation from the doctor, start taking statins. And I was 43 at this time. Right now I'm 49. And well, I thought, well, that's okay. I can take these pills, but is it like for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months? And they said, no, Sergey, come on, every day for the rest of your life. And I'm like, okay, now we stop. So my first degree is chemical engineering. I basically realized, like, if I'm going to be taking statins like for another 40 years, at this time I thought I'm going to be living another plus 40 years. Right now it's essentially a bigger number. Well, I kind of didn't like it as a chemical engineer. My second degree is finance, banking and finance. So I quickly Googled and realized this particular drug was the second largest revenue driver for this big pharma company. So I realized that, at the moment I take the first pill, they book like 40 years of revenue. And my third degree is Master of Business Administration. So I'm like, what else? What I can do? And they're like, come on, everyone knows that, but no one does it. I'm like, tell me. And physical activity, changing your diet, taking omega-3, few other supplements. And I couldn't believe my ears. I'm like, what? So this is what I did in the course of 6 months. My level of cholesterol decreased significantly, similar to what I would achieve just by taking a pill. But the quality of my life has changed. I was just full of power, full of energy, full of health. So I started to share my experience. And like the biggest change was when I pushed a lot of my friends to do a health screening. And some of them discovered early stage cancer. And the beauty of this situation today, rather than 20 or 40 years ago, well, in the past, there was kiss of death. Right now, if you caught the cancer, at really early stage, your recovery rates for some of the cancer types can be up to 90 or 100%. So they all recovered. Everyone called me up and said, Sergey, you saved my life. And after you receive few calls like that, you're on the hook. You basically, you forget about everything you've done in life. You're like, oh, okay, this is what I want to do. I'm not a doctor, right? So I'm an investor. And I thought, well, let's just set like a small fund to support longevity technologists and scientists and entrepreneurs who work on much more technological version of healthcare and medicine. And so this is what I've done.
Well, that's such a beautiful story. And, I love the fact that people share their story of overcoming health in such a short period of time, because once you start to wake up that it's how you live your life really kind of dictates how your DNA is expressed, you will start to have that control. I mean, 5 years ago, I was overweight, I was diabetic, I was hypertensive, and I was a medical doctor who needed prescription medications. But it was when I started to wake up and start to shift some of those habits that I had, my disease is reversed in 6 months as well, which is why right now I am a performance and longevity doctor. So we are brothers, Sergey. But I don't have the last name Young. Maybe I need to be, Kien baby. Instead.
Yeah. You can be more creative. Like this whole thing started. I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, and I've been to so many of his seminars. So, and once Tony was like, I've created this Tony Robbins guy. So I Googled him, and apparently his family name is different. And I thought, well, if Tony can do that, I can do it as well. So I just registered a trademark, and well, here I am.
Beautiful. So let me ask you now. I mean, I'm pretty sure your own story, why you got into longevity in the first place, put you in the investing and creating this longevity vision fund. But was there another inspiration behind what inspired you to write this beautiful book, The Science and Technology of Growing Young? And I love to read the insight. This is an insider's guide to the breakthroughs that will dramatically extend your lifespan and what you can do right now.
Yes. Well, where do I start? A few things. One, through Longevity Vision Fund lenses, we're looking at 200 longevity technology companies a year. And I was just really amazed. Like my last 3 years of my life has been amazing, because I happen to know so many scientists, entrepreneurs, amazing hearts and amazing minds in this field. So I thought I just need to share their stories. So I interviewed like 50 people, and it was David Sinclair, the author of Lifespan from Harvard Medical School, George, Bob Langer, the founder of Moderna. I even discussed human avatars and ethics of radical life extension with Peter Jackson, creator of Avatar, Lord of the Rings, Hobbits movies. And so this has been an amazing journey, and I wanted to share that. So that's one. Two, I needed something like a story to communicate to so many of us, to motivate people to change. Because like if you speak to me like 5 years ago, I would just like, change your diet, do physical exercises, make sure you take care of your mental health, do your annual screening. And people like, reaction was, well, okay, Sergey, my mom told me that. So that's it. They were just walking away from conversation. So then I created like this new horizon of longevity. So by this book, I was just trying to give people why they need to stay on longevity bridge, take care of their health, physical health and mental health in the next 10, 15 years. So what kind of technologies are expecting us in 10, 15 years from now? So that's the main body of this book. And we're talking about gene editing, gene therapy, organ regeneration, longevity in the pill. We're going to be having completely new class of drugs, like anti-aging drugs, in 10 years from now. So now it started to be interesting for so many people. They're like, okay, well, I understand there's a good reason to keep my body and mind in a proper state, in a thrive state, as you say. And so it's actually worth extending this resource in 10, 15 years from now. So then I thought, okay, so if like what you can do now can extend your life to 100 healthy and happy years, and I do believe we can do it today. So then Near Horizon will give us an opportunity to break this sound barrier of 122 years, like the maximum lifespan we had on Earth for record, and live longer or substantially longer. And then I developed.
You put like the number 200 in your book everywhere.
Yeah. And then I say like, but if you want to live to 200, I didn't really like this 150 years figure for the Near Horizon, because it's not really around. So I invented the next horizon called Far Horizon of Longevity. And this is completely futuristic world in 25 to 50 years from now. Human avatars, human brain AI integration, our blood full of nanobots, internet of body, like we all full of sensors, and we all interconnected, similar to Internet of Things. It's going to be Internet of Bodies on Earth. But like the problem with the Far Horizon is that it does have a lot of ethical questions. So I do believe like in 20 years from now, the biggest obstacles to longevity and life extension is not going to be science, not going to be technology. It's going to be human ethics and regulation. So that's very important. That's why a last chapter of my book called Morality of Immortality, which talks about like we've managed to create the science and technology to extend our life, but we haven't created life that we want to extend. So that's very important to go through like moral trade-offs that we facing today and we will face in the future.
Yeah, we're talking about longevity here. And, let's just, first of all, define what you mean by that. Is that just, pushing lifespan past a certain age? Do you have a specific sort of definition as to what you deem is longevity?
Yeah, so for me, I took it as an intentionally broad definition. And this definition is like whatever increase the average health span on Earth, not only lifespan, not only like a number of years, but the quality of these years.
Yes,
is longevity for me. And it's obviously, I'm not interested in developing something like which will cost like $1 million for like rich guys. I'm interested in like the maximum affordability aspect of that. That's why whenever we invest in longevity vision fund, it should be like the cost of this particular treatment or this intervention or solving this particular health problem should go down exponentially, 10, 20, 50, not percent times. Well, that's the beauty of investing in the new technologies and scientific breakthroughs. So intentionally broad definition, and like, my psychological, target age, which I want to live, is like 200 years. But this is more like I'm typical placebo man. So I believe like, I need to have like a bigger dream. And like, and if I will die in the age of like 90, that's okay. As long as I brought something to the world, which will help our kids, our grandkids to prosper, live beautifully in a thrive state, and healthy and happy. So that's my mission.
This episode of the Thrive State podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that Thrive State is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself, so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kienvu.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast. Well, that's beautiful. So let me ask you right now, you're involved with lots of technologies, probably lots in your fund. Which technologies are you most excited about that you think will have reasonable application that will be going to market pretty soon?
Yeah, so 3 things within the near horizon, and I'll start from like number 3, not from number 1. So as I said, we're going to have longevity drugs pretty soon.
Yeah.
And right now we already have few candidates like metformin, like diabetes drug, rapamycin, or it's going to be a drug developed by artificial intelligence. So we will have, and I do believe we have some substances on Earth today already, which as a positive side effect address the overall roots of aging. So that's very important. Watch out. That's number 3. So number 2 for me is organ regeneration. Like if you think about human body, not from biological, but from the engineering point of view, we all like cars, right? So you actually need a lot of sensors to monitor the performance of your car. That's why I have Whoop here, Apple Watch, my glucose monitor, Oura Ring is over there. But moreover, you would want to have like an opportunity to replace your organs. And there's so many great people doing so many amazing things in this field, like Martin Rothblatt at United Therapeutics, with experimenting with different biomaterials to regrow organs outside human bodies, or guys who do like 3D bioprinting. Well, right now, they're like 90 or to 95% of what they 3D bioprint end up in the labs for experiments rather than goes to humans. But it's just the beginning of this whole, organs industry and the opportunity for us. I'm particularly excited about our investments in a company called like Genesis. They based in Pittsburgh, and what they do, they take like a piece of donor liver. They split donor liver at 50, 75 pieces and use each of them to put in our lymph nodes. It's actually here. And in the course of 3 to 6 months, the additional liver is growing within your body, which it supports the function of your liver, which is not working properly. And that's amazing. They've done already trials with mice, dogs, primates, pigs. They got FDA approval for humans early this year. So they're starting human trials November this year. Well, that's amazing.
So are they actually growing the liver within the lymph node itself? So you basically have liver tissue throughout?
Yeah. And that's the opportunity to help, like with one donor liver, to help 50 to 75 patients. Because right now, there's a queue of, the waiting list for the organ transplantation in the US is 117,000 people. Like 20 people die every day because they couldn't really survive before they will find donor for organ from the proper donor. Or like 50% of organs is just lost in the process of transplantation. Transportation, not transplantation. And so it's just an example of so many things happening in organ regeneration space. So this is going to be available in the next 5 to 10 years for us. And
that's amazing. So that was number 3 was drugs and supplementation.
Longevity in the field
was organ regeneration. And the number 1 is?
Number 1 is gene editing and gene therapy. We've made a long way in the last 30 years. Like 30 years ago, it took US 13 years and $3 billion to sequence human genome. Right now, you can sequence human genome in the course of hours, and it's like $200, right? Yeah. So that's amazing. And we already know 3,000 genes within our DNA, which are responsible for our longer living or for aging as well. So I do think it's an opportunity to redefine humans overall, but we all need to be mindful. There's just a huge ethical and regulatory context that we need to sort out before. And gene therapy, like 30 years ago, like gene editing was really available to like a handful of people who had nothing to lose on this earth. They were terminally ill. Right now, we all participating in the huge and hopefully positive, I do think it's positive experiment of gene therapy all around the world. Moderna, AstraZeneca, some other COVID vaccines are the outcome of gene therapy. Well, this is great. I love it.
That's fantastic. So those 3 things. Now, some of them, I know supplements and poly drugs are accessible to the people now, but I like to talk in my book, the lifestyle things that we can actually do right now. So what are your 3 favorite longevity tips that anyone can practice right now? Yeah.
So the most important part of the book for me is actually the bonus chapter. It's called Who Wants to Live Forever? And it's talk about 10 longevity choices that you can make today. Like, forget about like 10, 15 years from now. There's so many things like you and I've done in our life. And in the course of literally like 3 to 6 months, you can feel the change. I was just reading the research, 8 weeks of the change in the diet, sleep and physical exercises produce -3 years in terms of decrease of biological age of the group. Like in the course of 8 weeks, you can be 3 years younger. This is beautiful. Okay, so but I couldn't really offer 3 things. I offer like 5 things because human biology is such a complex thing, but I'm going to be short. 1, annual or regular screening of your health is extremely important to be preventive. If you find out you have cancer, heart disease, diabetes risk early on, the quality of your life going to be sustained. You're going to be living longer and healthy and happier. Second, don't die stupid, like passive longevity.
So what does that mean? Wear a helmet and don't do extreme sports?
Like, if you drop, well, let's talk about this one. You know, I have quite a few friends who like, who kind of is it driving motorcycle, riding motorcycle. Yeah. And if you look at Harley Davidson statistics, at least that I've seen, like the peak of the sales of motorcycles goes in the male category goes like that around 45 years. And then it goes down, right? So obviously it's got something to do with the midlife crisis, but like riding motorcycle is 17 times more dangerous than driving a car. 17. And I'm talking about mortality risk, right? Yeah. This is crazy. Smoking, tobacco smoking is like minus 10 years from your life.
Yeah.
Not always using your seat belts. And I know countries where like using the seat belts on the rear seat of your car is just not fashionable. You're not kind of cool if you're doing that. Like me, minus 2 years. And then and I can go on and on. I received the note from the friend. She's from California, and she was about to climb K2 mountain in Pakistan. K2 mountain is famous. It's the most dangerous mountain on earth. And mortality rates there is like 25%. Like Russian roulette is like 17% chance of dying. And this is like bloody dangerous. Like she's done 25%. So, but make safe choices.
Right.
Don't do crazy stuff. That's pretty important. So that's second. Third is the diet. Decreasing your calorie intake from 15 to 25% is like the best way to add 3, 5, 7 healthy years to your life.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Yeah. And I do it through like being heavily plant-based and fasting as well. So I fast 36 hours within the week, which is it's amazing experience. Like number 4 is physical activity. And we have this like a binary paradigm of physical activity. So I'm either like running marathons, I'm like Iron Man or Iron Woman, or I'm sitting in my chair at my home watching TV or on the internet, and that's my sport. Okay, there is something in between. Use your wearable, measure 10,000 steps a day. This is 2/3 of your agenda, and you can integrate walking in so many activities in your life. And on top of add whatever you want to add, like weightlifting, yoga, stretching, cardio, whatever you like. So that's number 4, physical activity. And number 5 is peace of mind, like mental health. We need to realize, like every time we're talking about health, that we tend to think about like a physical health, but like if you are unhappy, like why would you need to have all these extra years? So for me, mental health really goes down to number 1, sleep. It's extremely important. It's like the best thing you can do for your body. So my rule is 8 hours in the bed, 7 hours of sleep. Second is mindfulness and meditation, just cleaning up your like bad thoughts, and through meditation, mindfulness, whatever you can fan of. Decreasing your cortisol level through this experience is extremely important. And number 3 is sense of purpose. So if you share the best of you with the world, if you give into the universe more than you take, and you help others to be like a better versions of themselves, this is beautiful. That makes you happy and healthy as well.
Oh, amazing. Your 5 things are my 7 bioenergetic elements in Thrive State. So that's beautiful. And again, those are things that you can do right now. I mean, you mentioned, the very last component, which is mental and your emotional health. And a lot of people don't recognize or realize that, your thoughts or your subconscious beliefs is the filter that you use for your body to start feeling. And if you're unhappy, when you're in emotions of fear, anger, hate, that drives cortisol up. And what people don't know is it also drives up inflammation. It lowers your immunity and puts you prone to getting chronic symptoms and chronic disease. So I love that. Now, living to 200 years is a great goal. And some people might ask, well, usually there's going to be some trade-offs, right? So if I want to live longer, I might, need to take away certain things from my life. What is your response to that? Are there any trade-offs, for a longevity goal?
Well, that's $1 trillion question. And I do know, like, what are the biggest problems that we have today in the world that we need to solve for people to embrace the idea of living to 200. So one is inequality. That's why, I'm working on affordability aspect of healthcare technologies, and inequality gap is increasing. I do think that longevity and affordable longevity is like one of the few things that can actually unite nations and people. Second, our relationship with Mother Nature, right? If you live in 75 years, you can like afford yourself to be responsible, like, dropping the plastic in the ocean, saying, next generation will sort it out. But if you live in 150 years or 200 years, we will face the consequences of our own actions. So that's important. And third, well, think about this. All of these social constructs that we have today in the world were designed when the average lifespan on Earth was like 35, 40 years. Career, like, one job through your whole life. Can I have as many careers as decades in my life? Yes, I can. Then like a marriage, 2/3 of the marriages going through divorce stage in the first 5 to 7 years, depending on the country you look at. This is awful. Can we be more creative to design, well, different structures for people who want to be united and be mutually responsible, like kids raising partnerships, something like that. And like, what do I do with kids from different generations? Yeah. So my oldest one is like 22 and my youngest one is 3, and I want more. Like, how do I deal with that? Yeah, I need to be forever young to be a father. So that's the idea. And there's so many things, like our reproductive ability is just decoupling from our like a social and sexual life as well. So the future gives us a lot of challenges and things to go through, and the time to solve them is not in 25 years from now, when we reach this longevity escape velocity point of time. The time to start this conversation on the global scale is today.
Oh, that's beautiful. And, when you pick up this book here, and again, it's called The Science and Technology of Growing Young. And I love, the subtitle, The Insider's Guide to Breakthroughs That Will Dramatically Extend Our Lifespan and What You Can Do Right Now. In the book, I'm just going to read off some of what people are going to get, because you're going to get to know the technologies that are new and fresh, everything that he was talking about, from supplements to new drugs to organ transplantation to gene therapy. He talks about the myths of why people think they cannot live longer. And, also very much at the end there, that bonus chapter of what you can do right now, all that and a lot more. I know we're going to send them to your website to pre-order the book as well, because they get a lot of bonuses with that. They'll get $150 worth of a special offer, which includes free access to the Longevity Academy. That's $130 value, 2 bonus ebooks at $20. And you can go to sergeyyoung.com/book to get that. So all that is super exciting. Now, when somebody picks up this book, and I recommend everybody picks up this book, certainly pre-order the copy of this book. What's the one thing you want your readers to walk away with after reading this book?
Perfect. Great question. Book is doing great already. Like few weeks before the publication, we're already #1 on Amazon in longevity, in aging, and in preventive medicine categories. So I'm really happy with the early success of the book. One thing, we all going to be living much longer than we expect, and we need to prepare for that. We need to take back control and responsibility for our own health and be part of this conversation, and make sure we do everything today to be ready for like long, healthy, and happy life which awaits for us.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now, before I get to my very last question, how do people find out more about you, find out more about your work on the internet?
Yeah, as you said, Kien, so it's sergeyyoung.com. Go there. There's this beautiful offer that we put together for someone who pre-orders the book. I've done like 12, 10 minutes video called Longevity Academy. It's video academy, which goes through a lot of aspects of longevity, and it's all for free. So sergeyyoung.com is like the easiest way to connect with me. And obviously you'll see like Instagram, Facebook, all these social media handles there as well.
Okay, and now the final question, which I'm really excited to find out what your answer is, because you've been exposed to so many different types of technologies that are out there, a lot of ancient wisdom, but also all these new technologies. Now, I'm very curious in your life, whether it be, something on your mental side, something on your emotional side, spiritual side, what has been your best medicine?
I think the answer to this question hasn't changed for the last 1,000 years. Food.
Wow.
Food can be your poison, and food can be your cure. So just changing your food habits, be as plant-based as possible, making sure if you take meat or fish, you take it from the wild or from organic sources, decreasing the calories of your intake, taking out all this sugar from your diet is like the best thing you can do. Like, try to be a vegetarian for 21 days. Like, you don't need to be religious about this whole thing. Just give it a try. Just take a look at yourself in the mirror by the end of this 21-day period. You'll just not recognize yourself.
Well, he's a true testament to what medicine really is, because if you take a look at Sergey Young, he said he was 49, but he looks like he's 13. So listen to this guy. He lives and breathes longevity and youth. In fact, it's also in his name. Again, the book is The Science and Technology of Growing Young. Please pick up your copy. Sergey Young, thank you for being on the Thrive State podcast.
Thank you. And stay healthy and happy, please.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if this podcast is bringing a lot of value to you, if you find that your life is just improving with this podcast, that your life is getting to the next level, please consider supporting it. And here's a few ways you can do so. You can do so by liking this video and commenting on this video, and also sharing this video with your friends and family. Another thing you can do is go to ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review there. It will really, really help this show grow. And this will give me more time so that I could actually give more content to you, just like you got in this episode. And if you haven't already picked up a copy of my book, Thrive State, Your Blueprint for Optimal Health, Longevity, and Peak Performance, you can pick it up now. It became a #1 new release in longevity. Go to thrivestatebook.com. And if you enjoy the book, please consider leaving us a review as well. And the last thing you can do, if you're liking everything here and you want to work more closely with me as well as my team to get you into the Thrive State, go to kienvu.com/accelerator and consider joining the home course, the Thrive State Accelerator. It's really the course that I use. It's the concepts that I use personally when I work with CEOs, celebrities, and my high-profile clients to get them to the Thrive State. Again, the Thrive State Accelerator at kienvu.com/accelerator. And because you're a listener of this podcast, I want you to save 25% by using the coupon code podcast25. I hope we continue to give value to you. And remember always, you are your best medicine.